What's going on YouTube? It's Black Saber with another Arknights video, and today it's simply just going to be educational. Um, if you're playing Arknights, like everyone, well, obviously knows that the factory is a big, important, part of the game, regardless if you're a fan of it or if you're not a fan of it. Excuse me. um, and look, like if because I will admit, because I was the same when it happened to me when they first introduced Factory, like yeah, it was a lot to casually just throw at someone, especially if you're not used to games where it has a factory like setting to it. It is a lot, and plus, even look, the devs even know that because you literally have an option within the game where when you go to blueprints, you can literally you know type in someone's blueprint code and like import it into your own factory. So the devs themselves knew that it was going to be a lot for some people. And if you're one of those people that goes on TikTok or YouTube and like get the codes and stuff like that, that's totally fine. Because like I can agree, it is a little tedious, especially when you got like set things up in a certain way or place, to get it kind of like running itself. Because that's one thing that is nice that once you get like the gist of it, like the factory pretty much just runs itself. And so because I don't want like the game really is a fun game, like in my personal opinion, and so I don't want people like not trying out the game because some people will see like on TikTok or wherever people with like a full crazy setup. It looks like they got the whole Amazon warehouse like going on their screen and stuff like that. And don't let that like steer you away from the game because I promise you, like once you get the basic like 1-2 knowledge of everything, like I promise you, it's the easiest thing in the world. And so right now, I just have this going just because like this is gonna be like a little quick, easy one to like easy way to kind of get your foot in the water on like how the factory functions. Because at the end of the day, it's like Play-Doh. Usually when you were young, you open up a thing of Play-Doh, you didn't look at the container or anything for like directions on like how to use it or like what to do. You just open it up and you play with it. Regardless if you ended up with a car at the end or like a deformed bird, it's just one of those things where the more like you know you play with it, the more you interact with it, it starts to become like muscle memory and like easy like to understand it, like how things function. And so kind of use that same ideology whenever you're in the factory. Like just go around and just like if you pick like a random machine and you're like, oh, I don't even know what this do. Like just play with it. And most of the time, like every item or like facility, it'll literally tell you like, hey, like you need this for that. If you put this in here, it's going to turn into this. And so it's kind of just go through everything, and like I said, the more you play with it, the more you'll get used to it. And so right now, what we're going to do is we're going to stash, and if you are into the factory side of things, and like if you come, because I actually had this like for this reason because I wanted to show it and talk about it. If you come across a lot of clogged issues, it's not your fault. Just know that um, a best way to diminish that is set up your like change your setup into a way where it's not just going through one thing. Because at one point it will get fully clogged, and then once it gets clogged, it'll stop transporting items into wherever you have it going, and that's why it's also nice that the game has uh, let me go all the way up to the belts. Like you got the splitter, the converger, the belt bridge. Those are really useful in the sense of like right here, I have one refining unit, but I can have it set up to where I have my ores going into more than one, and so that's why in scenarios like these, just like change your setup a little bit, tweak it a little bit to where that you know all your equipment isn't just going through one thing. Have it going through like another machine. Have it going through this machine, and so learning how to properly use the converter and the splitter, that's also a good thing too. And so right now, and the pack out port is where you're always going to go to, like to put a material in, like regardless whether it's an ore, like a plant from a seed, or like whatever the case may be. And the main thing is to get used to the refining unit and the shredding units. And the reason I say that is because like these two are like pretty much like the main important ones because like um to start from point A, this is pretty much point A, the pack out port. And then, at some point you have to either like shred down your material or like refine it. So the reason I say like get used to these two, because you're pretty much gonna spend a lot of time on them, especially with the shredding unit. The shredding unit is where you're gonna get all your powders from. Um, Regardless whether it's for like plants, plants are typically like the ones that'll give you medicine, the medicine you can use for your characters. Um, and then like up here, pretty much where all the ores will get turned into powders. The carbon powder, once you're in wooling, in the late game, the carbon powder does become important because you will need it, for making gold gear. By the way, so just keep that in mind. Um, so since right now I just have it set up to where, because I'm just using all this as like a basic example. I don't necessarily need any of these, but we're going to be making the ferrium component. And so in order to get to this point, and like I said, it's pretty nice that the game has it set up to where it can pretty much help anybody. Like I'll have it from point A all the way to the point B, and then there's even a search bar up here at the top, so where you could type in like any material you want to, and like it'll show you and give you a breakdown on like how to get to this point. And so now I have it set up to where I have my ores going in, they're getting refined into these different materials. And my setup right now, like, it's not the prettiest, and I wasn't intending to go for oh, I dropped my remote. Anywho, I wasn't intending to go for pretty. I'm just like doing this as like a simple way to kind of like easily understand. And so we're going here. And so right now I got these two going, and for everything they always have arrows on them. By the way, so they'll have an arrow indicating that it goes in, then they'll have an arrow indicating that it goes out. And do know that like the more facilities you have up, the more power you're going to go through. So definitely be aware of the fact that like you are going to need your thermal batteries to produce batteries. And actually, I can go ahead and show that too. And do know that like if you come on the facility list screen and you see all these things like, oh, I don't know what any of these do, um, like obviously just read them, but then also like if you see something you don't know what to do, like just put it down. And then like once you put it down, like the molding unit, let's say I didn't know what the molding unit does, I just build it triangle, and then once I get to this point, be like, oh, okay. And then like that's why I said like take one step at a time, like get familiar with one process, and then once you get familiar with that, everything starts becoming muscle memory. In the sense like ferrium, for example, oh well, we know how to get to this, like this, boom, we just started using the refining unit, and then oh well, look here, the ferrium ore, like we started from point A, had it in the pack output, and then we put it through the refining unit, and then we got to that point. So like, and then honestly, everything like the only thing I can say that probably will trick up people in a sense is the whole like, you know, hey, like what do you do, like, because at some point once this hit, it's at 14 now. Once it's 50, it's going to clog up, obviously. But depending on where you're at in the game, um, you'll be able to unlock the feature for the depot bus. And if you're at a point where you have a factory going and you're running out of space, and you don't know how to unlock, I mean, how to make your thing bigger. By the way, this is for those people who have ran into that issue. Like you just come to the steward and you have to do a mission to unlock this feature, but this is where you'll get your extended space from. And do know that they are like a little pricey in the sense of like on the money side. But I will make a video on like the best ways and tips to get either valley bills or wooling bills. Um, and do know that excuse me. Now once you get the depot bus, because you have the depot loader, and because I can show them right here. Yeah, the depot loader and unloader. Once, because like I said, you can have it set up to a point where the factory, like if it's truly like set up properly and you have things like set up in the right way, like I said, it'll literally just run itself. So once you get like that unlocked, it honestly will make your life easier. And the batteries, yeah. So we're gonna go to facility list, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, thermal banks. Um, I'm gonna just put it right here, just to. And for the banks, there are different kinds of batteries. Um, Obviously, like depending on which one you use, you get a certain amount of power for it. But to be honest, like in my personal opinion, like I necessarily don't have a use for the two down here because um the SC valleys, like once you have like a bunch of these set up, because they give you like 420 like power. Like once you have like a good amount of those set up, like there's really not a need for the other two. Like I'm just speaking from my like personal experience with the game, especially since I have like a lot of stuff going on. My my main factory with all my other stuff, like I literally just have nothing but the SC Valley. Excuse me, the SC Valley's running, and even if you don't have batteries like at the moment, you can just fill it up with the with the ore, but it only gives you 50, so do be mindful of that. Let's see. I'm gonna go to placement, and then because my space right here really isn't necessarily the biggest. Whoa, I'll put it right here. Now the packing, um, yeah, the packaging unit. I just call it the packing unit. This is where you'll come to make your batteries, but also this is where you can come to make explosives too. By the way, because if you're ever like traveling and you see like on the wall or somewhere, like you'll see it in the areas where you'll see like a wall with like red cracks on it. If you ever see those, that's indicating that you have to use an explosive on it. And this is where you come to make explosives. So do be mindful of the fact that if you're ever out and about, and it's like, oh, like this is like weird looking wall with like red cracks on it. Do know you have to use explosive on those. Um, but right now we're gonna. I mean, it doesn't really matter necessarily what we make. We'll probably just do the LC valleys just to like, do a quick demonstration. And since I already have this, I'm just gonna get rid of this. We're just gonna start all over from this. Mm. See, I already got it set up. Let's see what we're gonna do. We're gonna need to screen. We start all the way from here, and then because like I said, like once you get like the pretty much easy breakdown of like because of the like the two main like ores that you're gonna be familiar with. Like it's the amethyst, the iridium, and the ferrium. Like those three are the ones like you're gonna see like 99% of the time. And so when you get used to those, like everything like else on like what you need becomes muscle memory. And so that's why so like there, some items there'll be a point A to a point B, and then some items will be point A to point Z because some facilities will require um like some ores, and that's fine. But since I already have that set up, I'm gonna go to the refining unit. Oh, wrong button. set it right here. So now we got this going. Mm. And then it will take like a few seconds for everything to get all the way down there. But yeah, and like I said, even if it's just like one of those things where you truly don't know what you're doing, like just like I said, just play around with it. And like I said, from my like from I'm speaking on like my personal like preference and like experience and everything like that. What I personally did was like I just like I started learning like the basics before I got to like the end stuff. Like truly learning how to, use the shredding unit, like how to truly, learn how to use the refining unit, the fitting unit. Because once you like, because for example, like once you know how to get to the point where, oh, the shredding unit, oh, I need like ferrium powder, I need carbon powder. Like once you like learn like those first few steps, then everything else pretty much just becomes simple. It just becomes a matter of all right, I'm here, transport belt all the way to here, but oh, I need, excuse me, I need amethyst parts. All right, so obviously you're gonna start from the pack out port, then the refining unit, transport belt here, all the way to the finishing unit, and then you just drag it all the way down, and then boom. Now we got some batteries making for our thermal banks. And since that's right here, what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna grab the thermal bank. And put it right here. Boom. And then boom. Now we got that going. And for like clogging issues, like for clogging, like the simple, easy like fix to clogging is just tweak your setup a bit in a sense to where you have a transport belt going to like multiple directions instead of just like flat out one. Because if I was to sit here and let all these batteries go to, this thermal bank, at some point it's going to hit the cap out, which is 50. And so then you're like, oh, well, like, I don't want that to happen, but I want another battery. So simply, we can just do this right here. And then in this scenario, um, like learning how to use these like are really important because they're really helpful. The belt bridge, the splitter, the converger, and idle control port. The splitter, is going like right now in this scenario. Boom. And so now that we got the splitter here, so let's say this was at 50, capped out at 50. Now I have it to where in the sense that it's going not to just one thermal bank, but it's going to this one too. And use and it's the same principle for like any other facility. Um, like we can go over here. All right, my shredding unit is at 50 now, and so yeah. And then it's also one of those things where it's nice to learn how to use those because, like right here in this sense, I need the powders right now, right? But if you want to switch it up in the sense of now while I have the powder going, I can get some ores coming through here, and then now I can have some orgy crust going. And then the same principle, like I said, like once you learn how to use the splitters and all, are we plugged up right here? Oh no, it's just that. Also, and sometimes like it will like because my setup, like I said, it isn't pretty or like nothing like that. It was just a simple like try to show how to like fully get things working. Um, like in this scenario, like this isn't bad. It's just right now like it's taking up more of the materials faster than the ones that are going in, and that's only due to the fact that like I have mine starting all the way over here and it's going like all the way around. So it's going to take a while for that. But yeah, that's pretty much like the factory in an easy sense to like truly understand. And like I said, because now like I just did like a simple easy setup, and so now I have two thermal banks, all from starting all from this point, refining unit, fitting unit, going all the way down here, and then let me yeah, let me just throw the hello. That's my things. Come on, stash move. Oh, I had it. That's my bad. I had it in the wrong direction. Okay, so now there we go. I didn't truly see the the arrow at the bottom, but yeah, like I said, like once you learn how to use the splitters, you can have everything like set up to where things are going in multiple directions. So that way you don't run into clogging issues. Because once your facilities are clogged, it will just stop operating at that point. And obviously you don't want that if like you want your factory up and running to where like let's say you can't play the game 24/7, but like, you still want your things running so that way when you hop on the game, you have materials waiting for you and stuff like that. So that's why, like I said, like once you can like get a full feeling how everything works, then like from that point on, like just learn like all right, well, how can I set this up? How can I set it up to where I have things working on this side going in that direction, and things working on this side going into that direction. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope that it was helpful to some that are new and some that have been playing the game since it dropped, for a good little minute, but still confused about it. Hopefully, this video was helpful and educational to you. And if you made it to this far, leave a like. I really appreciate it. And remember, if you're having a horrible day or a horrible week, just know that hard times aren't temporary. I promise you, like we all go through our tough times and tribulations, but at the end of the day, it's all about being able to go through those and experience the good moments. And once you get to the good moments, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, well, I'm having like a good day, but I don't really like want another bad day. So like, what can I do like to prevent that from happening? And there are some times where you can't even prevent it, and that's totally fine. That's not your fault. But just truly know that it's all about being able to bounce back from a bad day and getting to yourself to a point where you can have a good one. But I hope everyone who watched and stayed this long, enjoyed and stay tuned for more videos because I will be dropping more Arknight videos, especially tutorial ones and overall um, gameplay ones on how to, manage your factory, how to set up factories in a way to where, this factory is for plants, and this one's for medicine. So stay tuned for that. And like always, have a great day.